Welcome back to step 3 in transitioning to Angular 2.0. All right, so last time we went ahead and created a new web component or directive-based component, and we refactored out our people directive, really our people grid here, and we refactored that out into its own component-based directive. This component-based directive is completely standalone and allows us to make this reusable. All right, great. So what we're going to do today is we're going to add a second one because what's good for this one would work great for this one. So we're going to call this news. This would be where we put our news feed, and we're going to go ahead and refactor this out and get it out of the dashboard controller. So in this case here, we're going to go ahead and create a new directory. We're going to call it news. And inside of here, we're going to create a few files. So news.directive.js, great. And directive.spec. Now, if you're wondering, when are we going to start actually doing something with the spec files? Well, that'll be one of the last steps that we do. We'll come back and show you how to write tests for this and be able to test our directives, including running the stuff for our routes and our controllers and hoping to push that code towards code coverage towards 100%. All right, so let's copy this again, and we want a news.html, great, and we want a news.module.js. All right, great. So, all right, let's go ahead and start with our module. Again, we're going to start with an IFI, and we're going to have our use strict, and let's see here, Angular module. We're going to create our module here, so it's app.components.news. We won't have any dependencies. Great. So there's our module. Now what we need to do is go ahead and add this guy over here to over here. So that way we include our news directive with our components. So, and again, if you remember, our components then are loaded by our app module. Great. So now we've got all these files. Let's go ahead and start putting this together. Again, we need another IFI. All right, and oh, I am missing the use strict on this. All right, let's put that in. And now let's go ahead and, using our existing module that we already set up, components.news, all right, .directive, call it news, and news directive. Great. Again, it doesn't know what this is because we've not declared it yet. All right, and then we also know that we're going to need another one called news controller. Great, so now we have our two named functions here. So let's go ahead and wire together, or actually declare our directive here. So great. Again, so we want this to be a element, so we're going to restrict it by element. We're going to go ahead and give it its template URL, and we're going to point that to app components news.html. All right, great. We're going to isolate the scope again, and we're going to point our controller to our news controller and use our controller as syntax so that we get rid of scope and we use a view model instead, and then we're going to have our bind to controller set to true. All right, great. So there's the definition for our news directive, and now in our news controller we are var view model equals this. And now we're going to, oh, where is this coming from? Well, let's go back over our dashboard here. So the dashboard controller has the news here. So it's not actually loading from anywhere. We don't need a data service. It's actually just being hard-coded. So for the purpose of this, we're going to go ahead and just remove him out of there. And the rest of that can stay. I'll go back over to our news directive. All right, get the spacing right on that. Excellent. So this is our directive. It's that simple there. Again, there's no data being loaded from an external source, although obviously for news that would be something we'd probably want to load externally. All right, so then we've got our HTML. So let's go find in our controller or our dashboard HTML, let's go find the news piece. All right, well, looks like it's pretty much right here. It's pretty small. We'll go ahead and cut this out of here and place it over in the news HTML. All right, great. So there's our title, there's our description. All right, great. And now when we pull it up, all right, let's go ahead and shut this down, restart it. All right, great. So now it was able to reload. We're good, except for we don't have our news component. Let's go back over to our dashboard. Oh, well, it's because we did not add it in here. So we go ahead and add our directive. We save it, and there it is. So what I want you to notice here is that with our dashboard HTML, really what it's starting to become is scaffolding. Scaffolding for the structure of the page. That we have bootstrap classes here. We have a div with a row, a div for a column MD6, another column MD6, and then we're placing our directives in it. This is ideal. This keeps our controller HTML super lightweight and allows it to be just more the structure of how we want directives to be placed, and not so much being everything, including the directive as it was, when we originally generated this project. So, all right, this is a very short and sweet lesson on this. On step 4, we are going to be taking our we're going to be taking a look at these two here and noticing that we have a common container between the two of them. This common container we want to have be reusable, and so we're going to take a first stab at how we might do that. All right, thanks so much for listening. Have a good day.